MLB The Show has had its fair share of overpowered pitchers. We had knuckleballers back in the day of MLB The Show 18, and of course this year with Randy Johnson. There has not been a single pitcher used as much as 99 Jacob deGrom from MLB The Show 21. How did this card come to be? Why was this card so good? And how did this card impact Diamond Dynasty Forever? The year is 2021. And MLB The Show 21 just dropped. Pinpoint pitching was added as a big feature to the game. It was a new pitching mechanic that essentially was like old MLB 2K pitching, but it was basically added to MLB The Show this year. For years, people used meter, analog, or pulse pitching. Ew. But pinpoint really was something fresh to the game. For the first time, there was a new pitching input, and it was meant to be difficult to do, but very rewarding once you got it down. Forever, it felt like pitching was pretty difficult in Diamond Dynasty. Put good input on the pitch, but the ball wouldn't really go where you want it to go all the time. And it allowed people to consistently locate pitches with good input, which was definitely way more frequent than years past. Obviously, MLB The Show had its fair share of dominant pitchers before. Phil Niekro existed in MLB The Show 18.
You didn't see that.
99 Clayton Kershaw was absurdly scary in MLB The Show 19, and then Corey Kluber was the guy to use in MLB 20. But in MLB 21, there was a new trend in pitching. With pinpoint pitching, you had a lot more control of pitchers. Pitchers that would normally be declared unusable or not used as often because he had literally no control but threw hard, became a lot more viable in MLB The Show 21. So that sacrifice of control did not punish you as much. In terms of Diamond Dynasty and content, the game was completely different back then too. We had Team Affinity, and this year was definitely the year Team Affinity was most prominent. In case you did not play this time, Team Affinity were essentially like programs, but they were not time limited. Complete them whenever you want to. You could get all 30 cards, one for each team for free, along with a bunch of other packs and stubs. Basically just grinding the game, completing moments, and showdown in many cases was enough to get you a bunch of really good cards to use on your team. A new Team Affinity would drop and you'd basically refresh your whole team. In these Team Affinity programs, there was one card before Jacob deGrom that was nightmare fuel, and his name is Edward Cabrera. Honestly, he deserves his own video down the road. But he was a Team Affinity Season 2 starting pitcher. It was the first big content drop overall after the launch of MLB 21. It was an especially weird content drop because we had 92 overall pitchers like Jackson Rutledge, and then guys like Cliff Lee, who was a 97 overall. So this is very confusing. But this was super early in MLB 21, right at the peak of the game where a lot of people were playing the game, constantly building their teams. Everyone wanted Edward Cabrera. He had outlier on the sinker. It was incredibly difficult to hit. And basically, if you just threw inside sinkers to lefties and righties the entire time, you get so many late swings. But pinpoint was a big reason that someone like Edward Cabrera could really do well, because he was able to locate those pitches really consistently. So you could throw inside sinker over and over and over again. And this is the first pitcher in the year that was like this, who was a lock in every rotation. As year went on, Edward Cabrera caused nightmares in rotations. Everyone was using him whenever they could. Every new content drop that we got, everyone compared him to Edward Cabrera and basically concluded that he was just better. You just couldn't take him out of your lineup. Then we got word of a Team Affinity drop that was going to be occurring during the All-Star game. This has never happened before. We never got 30 current players to get a Team Affinity drop for the All-Star game. Every team was going to get one current player that was basically getting a better live series card. For most teams, they would get that one player that likely represented them at the All-Star game. You get a 95 to 97 overall player who's having a good year, and that card would likely be way better than the live series card, so actually usable at that point in the game. So for players like 97 Cedric Mullins, it worked out really well. However, the Mets had a little bit of a problem. They had one player in the All-Star game, and it was Jacob deGrom, because he was injured. So were they going to use his replacement from the All-Star game? Also, his live series was a 95 overall. So people figured, would you really release a 99 right now? Back then, we weren't getting multiple Ken Griffey Jr. 99 overalls. Usually if a player got a 99, it was their last card of the year. So everyone was unsure. is Jacob deGrom gonna get an All-Star Game card? And then this bozo YouTuber by the name of Scann, I don't know who that guy is, ended up announcing the card, and we got 99 Jacob deGrom in Team Affinity Season 2. And you look at the attributes of the card, and you see why the card was really good. 119 hits per 9, 115 Ks per 9. He has a 92 mile per hour slider, and he's got an outlier four-seam fastball, meaning the fastball is going to hit 101 and 102 miles per hour basically all the time. And this card looks like an endgame card, but it was released in July. Also, this program was designed to earn these cards very quickly. Other Team Affinity programs usually required a little bit more work to get a hold of the cards, but this program, you could get a Diamond All-Star Game card within an hour of playing. You could complete 5 moments and you would get enough stars to get 99 Jacob deGrom on your team right away. So you could get an endgame level card in July in a matter of minutes. As you may expect, everyone added him to their teams, and he just ended up dominating Diamond Dynasty for the rest of the year. 130,000 players ended up parallel 5ing him. For perspective, Edward Cabrera last year had 36,000 parallel 5s. 4 times the amount of people went for Jacob deGrom, basically. 99 Randy Johnson, who is arguably the most popular pitcher in MLB The Show 22, has 30,000 parallel 5s. So Jacob deGrom was clearly used a ton. People would use him in events. They would start him whenever they could in ranked seasons. They would even use him out of the bullpen in ranked seasons games. He would be able to pitch 120 plus pitches into games and still have green energy, and it still would be able to hit 100 plus miles per hour on that fastball. And this is the case for the rest of MLB The Show 22. So about 3/4 of the game's release, Jacob deGrom was used the entire time. A lot of people stopped playing Diamond Dynasty because they thought it was very annoying facing the same pitcher all the time. If you end up playing very casually on like a TV, where your reaction time is going to be a little slower, you are essentially going to be late on these fastballs every time. And he ended up becoming the defining card for the year. This card was such a defining factor in the game, it had some long-standing impacts on Diamond Dynasty and MLB The Show in general. There were some big gameplay changes for MLB The Show 22 that were announced right before the game dropped. Any pitcher with outlier got an extra punishment on the size of their perfect area region, and they created the dynamic par region, which allowed pitches to change in size based on where you pitched it. So high pitches like sliders would have a way bigger region, so they would be very difficult to locate. All of these things were impacts because of players like Jacob deGrom. They nerfed stuff because of the things that Jacob deGrom was able to do. Not only did gameplay change, but a lot of content changed as well. In MLB 22, content had a way more progressive pace in the overalls of players. So we didn't get 99s until later on in the year, and the only players that were 99s that we were able to get were Legend and Flashback and Live Series collections, so cards that you were working on getting on for months. Then there was definitely a decrease in the overall players with high hits per 9 in terms of starting pitchers. Most pitchers in MLB 22 thus far have about 100 to 110 on that hits per 9, even as we're approaching that end game part of the year. Guys like Jacob deGrom and other no-hitter milestone cards were such popular cards. They really toned that down this year, especially after hearing that feedback of how pitching was so good last year. Pitching became a lot more difficult. You didn't have that same level of pitcher like Jacob deGrom. Even someone like Randy Johnson, who is very good, does not pitch as nearly well as Jacob deGrom was last year for many people. It's a lot more difficult to pitch in MLB 22 in general. So Jacob deGrom had a large impact on MLB The Show, and in my opinion will remain the most used pitcher ever in Diamond Dynasty history. And honestly, this card is going to haunt my nightmares forever just because of how much I faced him in MLB The Show 21. Hi everyone, it is me. This video is probably the most fun I've had making a video in a while. Just in general, at this point, that will be the show 22. It's gotten very slow and stale. So I wanted to change it up and do something different for once. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit that thumbs up and let me know in the comments. Obviously, this is brand new to the channel, so I've never done something like this before. So yeah, I appreciate you all watching. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you all again on the next one. Deuces.